Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of TPW where we will be doing a close interview of the story, the background of how TPW has started with the history of TPW and all that combined. And we have a big guest, is none other than the owner of TPW here at our first documentary style film here, broadcast live here on Twitch as well, and we will be posting it on YouTube as well. But welcome the Ram to this interview, and it's great to have you here. It's great to be here, Pepperjack, and honestly, it's been a long, long road to get to where I am, and how it all started. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, isn't it? And as you know, I'm not dressed in my wrestling attire. I figured I'd dress a little more nicer for this interview for today. Um, so let's get to it. Let's get talking on the history of TPW. Well, it all started from a little kid's dream in his room. He started looking at action figures and um, a ring, like a toy ring, and being with his family, considering all the stories that imagination had. It started there. It started with just a little bit of a dream and a little bit of imagination. And from there, this boy, which is me obviously, grew up, and then things changed. Things were getting more harder, provide for different people, and obviously you grow up playing games, and that's when I fell in love with video games, especially wrestling games, and then I got involved with uh, some friends that were able to help me start TPW from the ground up. Um, and how things happened from there was it first started with just one guy who was starting his own league in TPW, not TPW, on wrestling game, and I got involved in a Royal Rumble in that event, and I didn't quite know the landscape, like if I was supposed to win or not. I didn't get pretty far. I remember rushing home and saying I need to get there and uh, get this match underway, so I did. And yeah, that's where I started wanting to do my own thing, my own company, as you could say, my own league. And from there, I started growing my own ideas of characters and things like that. That's where I got the ideas from, was when I was little, the little characters I made. Um, and yeah, I made the championships, I made the characters, I made um, everything really out of the imagination that I had. It's not anything easy though. Growing up and liking what I did was wrestling, and it's very difficult to grow up and having people, I guess, not make fun of you, just look at you more different because you were a part of the mold of football baseball or soccer or whatever mold those things were, those jocks and people who focused more on those kinds of sports wasn't really something I wanted to be involved with. I wanted something more entertaining, and something that's always captivated me since I was little is growing up with those characters I saw on TV, like characters like John Cena, like The Rock, RVD, CM Punk, ECW style. All those things together really captivated my attention to grow more and to open my eyes to a whole world that I didn't see before when I was alone and had nothing else in my life, really. But other than that, that's really how I got started. It started all with a little kid's dream to start it and grew to this big uh, show that we do now. And obviously, people are wondering, well, if it was so big, why did it fall 3 years ago? Well, it was just a little bit of a difference of opinions with friends that were helping me out in that point. I'm not gonna say anything bad about them. They were amazing. They helped me to um, grow the company and to grow the characters. They helped me to set ideas, which I still use today. Um, and that's why I included them in being legends of this company and being a big part of TPW was people like C Brown, Danger, Razor, Randall, and many others that I might be forgetting. But hopefully I'll remember in my head soon and I can add them to the company later. But but yeah, that's the main reason why there was a fallout. TPW, it fell 3 years ago because of that. And you know, life gets you busy, you fall into your own routine, and then you do things that keep you busy. And finally, there's a point in my life right now that I was able to, um, I guess you could say, grow and move forward with um, this company that I do want to continue to grow. And I guess I could talk a little bit about the background information of the history, besides how it started, um, how it all started with C. Brown and me, and that background. Now, that background takes me back to a long time ago. It was, we started in a little arena, like we said before, in, I believe it was the Bronx, New York. And we had a gymnasium, and that's where we started a little bit of a ring. And it wasn't really a ring, it was more of a boxing ring. And that's where we got together and we, uh, you know, started picking little people here and there to join the small company as it was before. And from there, I still remember this day that C. Brown told me that the only way we can grow is to actually spread out to a bigger audience. And I remember the audience we were targeting at the time were, teenagers at the time and kids who loved wrestling. So we grew to that audience, and then I remember still that we branched out to a whole nother arena, and that was in a little bit farther than the Bronx. It was a little farther than there, but anyways, we grew there, and that's where we met some of our, local people, or like Chuckles, Danger, and so on and so forth. They were slowly added to the mix, where we started rivalries, mainly between. At first, it wasn't always sunshine and roses between everybody. We had our differences, so we started rivalries off that. Off what personal grudges we had. We used that to fuel a lot of our entertainment-wise. So um, it'd be feuds between Danger and Randall, also Chuckles, and obviously with Razor, different things like that. And really, that's how a lot of the rivalries started, and how we grew as wrestlers, is growing our characters from there. And I remember we only had, at the time, a camera recorder, because, at that time we didn't have YouTube or things like that. So it was a camera recorder, and we would just record it off a camera, and then uh, we would ask different people off VHS tapes to watch the product. And one person in particular, I remember, grabbed that videotape, and he said that I am a big fan of you guys, and I've been watching since you guys released these tapes. I've grown, and I want to expand on your company, like a give profit. And it all started with $10. $10 I still have to this day in my office, and those $10 at that time was a lot. It grew so that we could be broadcast live on one channel that was playing at the time. And from there, we had our first live taping, and that's when we actually were able to make money, because we were able to sell merchandise. And yeah, and then that's where we grew from there, uh, off those different merchandise things. Um, and then I'm still trying to remember. It's been so long since I talked about this, but definitely it's from there we were able to have our own set place in New York, and that was the mid part of New York, where we had our own personal live audience, and we grew from 10 people to 20 people to 100 to thousands. And then we were just so big, we had to expand, obviously. And that's where we started our training centers, and we hired more people to be involved with the the show. And that's really how we branched out a lot. We branched out so much that that's how we started TPW, from just $10 to a lot that we have today. And we're completely grateful to that one man who, his name's Brad, and he was able to help us out with expanding our product. Um, as for the new ones you see today, obviously we've expanded so much from the training grounds we had before. We had a new performance center that we were able to add people like you see today, who are rising, like Shibata. and a lot of others that, including my son being one of them, able to expand and rise in TPW from the training grounds that we have. Um, and it's definitely interesting to look back into all these memories because it's something that you don't think about regularly. Not that you don't want to, it's just you think about these things and it makes you a little sentimental, you know? Because you've gone through a lot to get to where you are and to actually grow as a person. Um, but um, either way, honestly, we definitely um, give our respects to the fans that been watching, be it day one or now, that are watching loyally as fans on here on Twitch and on YouTube, branching out so much that you have all these platforms that you can use to branch out as well. Um, but you know, it's been a wild ride since those days, since the beginning to now. Um, I guess I can bring you to some stories that I remember from those days. Now that I explained like the history behind TPW, um, just like a couple stories. Like one of them, I remember it was a snowy day and really icy, and we were driving down the street to get to our arena. We were packed in this minivan that held only a couple people. I remember that, and we could not afford to get snow tires, so we were pretty bad shape. We were driving really slow to get to where we were. I remember to this day that we almost slid and crashed into the sidewalk because we were trying to get to our matchup. We just finished eating and we noticed it started snowing like a blizzard. Um, but just remember to that day when Razor said, "Oh blimey, this is really slippery," and we just flew across the ice and we just crashed into almost to the side of the sidewalk, but we managed to turn the wheel and get back into uh, the routine that we were in to get back to the arena. But I still remember that. It's hilarious. Um, Another good story was I think it was me and C Brown. We were always like tag partners at that time because we were starting out and we didn't really know our characters too much. So uh, we decided to face off against Razor, and I think at the time was Chuckles, I believe. But anyways, it was interesting to see us face each other. But the thing I remember is we were just starting out, so we accidentally slipped. Well, one of us was doing a move off the ropes and we slipped, and we somehow managed to fall on one foot, so we had to sell it that we hurt the other foot, and the whole match we were trying to figure out which foot was which because we completely were off our game. It was our first time fighting in a tag match live on TV, so I just remember we were jumping on each foot trying to see if anyone would notice. Luckily, no one did. But It was hilarious how we did that. Um, take you to current moments, I guess. If you think about, uh, my family history, we have The Rock in there is my brother, and we have my son Destroyer, and all that jazz. But we were chilling on Hollywood Boulevard. It was a while after recently, um, a couple years back, and we chilling there. We got up to the building where we were gonna practice some moves for the upcoming extravaganza match. I still remember to this day the stuff that Dwayne was telling me. He is very personal that if you want to make it in this industry, you have to sell it the most you can. And at the time, obviously, I was totally different character than I was now. I was a kind of like Destroyer, I guess you could say, more of a smash mouth young superstar at that time. And remember, he told me to really sell those characters, so I did. Some moves that I copied, obviously from The Rock, was the rock bottom, the elbow, people's elbow. Um, but we were trying to sell that, I was kind of pretending to be him, and the way I talked and everything, so that kind of collided into a matchup between me and him in Extravaganza. And yeah, that was interesting to see two worlds completely different collide. And we sold that match so well. And I still remember this day. Um, as for matches, moments, I want to say the best moment I've had was to be able to face CM Punk, and he was one of my favorite superstars, still is. And we were able to face each other at I think it was a PLE before Extravaganza, if I remember correctly. But we faced each other one on one, and I was able to get um, the right moment on there, and I think it was when he hit the elbow off the turnbuckle. I moved out of the way and I managed to get uh, just a simple punt in, I think it was. And I just hit the right moment. It hit him and it was perfect. It all aligned in one thing. Those moments, you look back again and you just know you did well. And that's moments I look back on and definitely appreciate. Um, you know, this whole thing, this documentary is just to talk about moments in my life, but also people around me that made it all happen, and including you, Pepper Jack. You've been here for a while since um, a little bit after day one when you arrived as a simple backstage announcer and became our top person to call matches and everything else and things like that. So we appreciate everything you do as well. And I I remember you were just a plucky teenager wanting to be a part of something big, and you just walked up to me and said, "Hey, if you give me this chance, then I can prove that I belong here." And you said it doesn't matter if I start as a ring helper, the people help with the ring, or doesn't matter anything, and just give me an opportunity. And I did. And still to this day, you're here and making waves, to say, with different calling matches and everything else. So really appreciate that too. That you do that and you were able to make those things happen. Um, as for talking about more of my family, I guess it'd be it started with Rose. We met. Ooh, I want to say, oh, 30, 20 years ago, or more, I guess. um, we were both on the indie circuit, and at that time, were just training before we bumped into each other and that whole jazz. And she got a part of wanting to be with us in TPW. At that time, women wrestlers weren't taken seriously, so she wasn't really added into a lot of matches. There wasn't a lot of people stepping up to be a part of active rosters at the time. So she helped more with the banking stuff and notes and things like that. And yeah, that's how our family grew. We grew to have a Destroyer, and he um, started training in the training ground when he was 18. Even before then, he was training in our backyard and everything with his friends, and he wanted to be like me, and to be a part of this company, and that's how he grew to be the star he is now, and I'm proud of him. His character is definitely something you don't see every day, that he grew a faction, he took the title the way he did, he came back what he said he was gonna do, and he did. And wow, it's amazing to see how your kids grow up and be something great. Um, and I don't know, there's so many things that to mention, but those are all the main things that in the history, the matches and stuff like that, family background. Um, as for the things that are involved to make one show is a lot. Obviously, you have to think about the characters that are involved with the matches. A lot of the new guys are trying their best to be uh, past people, but I keep telling them, don't focus on the past, focus on yourself, on the future that will help us to grow most definitely into something great. And that's what they've been focusing on, and as you can see, they're their own person. They grew their own characters, and they're doing amazing. And soon, we'll have more legends that are gonna step down, and veterans, and we're focusing more on the future. That's what we have to do. Um, So I'm just trying to think if there's anything I missed with this whole thing. Because this is a moment that I have to think about in general for history, background. I mean, that's pretty much it, I think. It's a lot of background to being back, I guess. Being in a world that's changed since 3 years ago and so much has gone viral and things like that. So those things make it different, but it also makes it better, you know? Um, and again, we appreciate everyone involved right now and for the future. And this whole thing, it leads up to a what we have in store to come moving forward. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just focusing on that, and yeah, that's it, Pepperjack, I guess, for the background and everything. Just a little bit of history, some stories that I remember. uh, and I guess leaving it at that would be the best thing, so we don't get jumbled up with words. uh, yeah, thank you, Ram. We appreciate this background information. It's just amazing to be a part of this and to see things grow. And for those of you wanting to see more of content, you can always watch on YouTube and Twitch. And thank you for being here with this documentary, which we'll post soon on YouTube as well. So, I'm Pepperjack, and we're signing off here.